everybody, and welcome to the Board Game Geek Show for February 15, 2019. I'm your host, Scott Alden, and I am once again joined by my lovely co-hosts, Lincoln Dammer, Steph Hodge, and back from assignment, W. Eric Martin. How's everybody doing?
Hi.
Doing
well. How are you?
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. We are not jet lagged now.
No.
By the time you get back from your jet lag, well, you're not jet lag. You get to get jet lag next week.
That's right.
Because next week we are headed to the Cannes Festival International Jeux. Is that right?
Des Jeux, yep.
Des Jeux.
Yep.
Des Jeux. Of course, our pronunciations are completely wrong, and but it's the world's biggest. I think it's the world's biggest game fair, right? I mean, by attendance.
I'm not sure what
Close.
the public attendance is. Yes, it's up there.
Massive.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's pretty massive.
It's a massive space that they hold a fair in with two huge floors in the same building where the Cannes Film Festival is held. So there's a lot of room and a lot of games.
They've got tournaments going and lots of playing card tournaments. So it's amazing. And it's free to the public.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's free.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, you just walk in and go. And it's like Essen, as I understand it, right? Like just booths after booths after booths. Booths. And things to look at.
That's a fair assessment.
Yeah. Can you buy stuff? You can buy stuff, right?
Yes, many games have their debuts there. There's lots of prototypes and advanced copies of things being shown, especially games that will be coming out at Spiel. But there are also new releases aimed more at mainstream markets generally, because it's more of a family affair.
Plus the excitement of the off, where they show all kinds of prototypes from publishers and individuals. It's amazing.
Right, based on the off Cannes Film Festival, where they show other films off-site of Cannes, and this is the off of... They just called it the off, and we're like, what is it? What do you guys... What is that a word? Like, they're just saying off, the off. And we've looked it up, and we kind of figured out, okay, off Cannes was the film festival, off for the games is after hours, you get to play games. And I think they stay up all night. You guys stayed up one of those nights last year.
We didn't go that late, but I talked to Bruno Catala, and he was up till 3 a.m. most every night. So that is just crazy. I think
making the most of it.
Absolutely.
Right, and those tables are assigned, as I understand it. No, you can't just come in there and take a table. It is pre-assigned tables for the players to just... And I think they're only allowed to show prototypes.
That's the whole purpose of it.
Definitely not open gaming.
And we're live streaming from... which day are we starting on that?
We are actually live streaming from Thursday, the 21st of February. So we might... I don't think we're going to start early, but we'll probably do some testing with Scott. He doesn't attend, but he's usually up the entire time.
I'll get the jet lag without being in Europe, which is
That's right.
Awesome. Where I wake up at like midnight, set my timer to wake up at midnight, since that's like 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. at your time.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, that's what I've done in the past year, so we'll do that again. Fun. So if you didn't see the post on the front page, Board Game Geek, we just crossed 2 million registered users mark, which is kind of an interesting number because that means you had to sign up and verify your email address. We only count verified email addresses. So we hit 1 million, I think, in 2015, if I'm not mistaken. So it's been 4 years since we crossed 1 million. So it took 15 years to get to that first million. And as they say, the first million's the hardest. Second million came within just 4 years. So yeah. So that's exciting to me personally. I've been tracking it I kind of predicted it was going to happen at the end of the year, but we changed our login system to handle
GDPR,
those good old initials, and made it a little more clear to log in. Since then, we've actually redone the login screen to make it even more easier. So we lost a whole bunch of people just like, oh, look at that login screen. Like, forget it, I'm not going to log in. So we've changed that, and then we shot back up we went, 25%, 30% increase in signups. So that screen definitely had a lot to do with it. Anyway, we've crossed 2 million. So any predictions on when we hit 3? How many years it'll take? So 15 years for the first million, 4 years for the second.
Sometime next week?
Yeah.
2 years.
Oh, okay. 2 more years. All right, Steph, I'll put you down. 2021. We'll check back.
February 2021.
I'm going to hand out flyers now to try and get more people to sign up.
Depends upon Russian interest in the site.
Oh, no. Yes, the Russian influencers and affecting the Board Game Geek rankings. That scandal.
That's why when you sign up on Twitter, you're 4 quadrillionth user.
So I had some other BGG stats that I dug up. I stopped doing this because I was just kind of like, I don't know, bored with it. But in January, we had 4.5 million unique users visit the website. So that's just unique visitors based on your IP address and all that kind of stuff. And 88 million page views. That was January of 2019.
Wow.
And then for all of 2018, we had 36 million unique visitors and 809 million page views. So there's my quick little stats.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of pages.
That's awesome.
So yeah, there you go. Yeah, BGG is growing, and it's pretty cool. So we thank everybody for signing in and registering and participating on the website. Appreciate it.
Well, that's amazing.
Eric, why don't you tell us a little bit about Nuremberg?
Lincoln and I spent 4 days recording game overviews, and we will have those videos start going up on our new Board Game Geek Express YouTube channel very soon. Many of them have already been uploaded. I think we recorded about 100 overviews of games. And it was a really interesting mix. I'll segue into our what have we been playing segment, because of course the primary question when you go to Nuremberg is, what are the Spiel des Jahres contenders? What games are you seeing at the fair that look like they could be up for the Red Popple? And what was interesting is we saw almost nothing. It seemed like either games were coming out after the end of March deadline, or they were too complicated, or they don't support two-player gaming, which seems to be a requirement. I mean, not hardline requirement, but definitely something you have to have. And we kept seeing like, where are these games? It was kind of bizarre. And finally, we did play one. So on Sunday night, we had a sample copy of Copenhagen by Asger Granerud and Daniel Pedersen, published by Queen Games. It's a 2 to 4 player game. Plays in about 30 minutes. It totally fits that window. And it's got this Tetris-style gameplay where you are drafting cards in 5 colors, and then you're playing sets of cards to take polyomino pieces.
Oh my god, it sounds amazing!
Yeah, you think Tetris style where you're dropping them, although not really. But you have to start from the bottom, and everything has to be connected or supported. You can't just have something free floating in space. But if I have something here, I can rest something on top of it, however precarious it is. And you're trying to complete rows. You get a point for that. If you have a row where every space in those 5 spaces has a window, that's 2 points. If you complete a column, it's 2 points. If you complete a column that's all windows, 4 points. And it's a race to 12 points. That's it. And there's some special action tiles that you start with one, and you can draft others as you fill certain spaces with a special icon, or cover a space with an icon. You can draft a little 1x1 square to fill in a hole, or you get special action tiles. It's super simple, mainstream, streamlined.
I already know I love it.
It's totally a Nikki game. I mean, that's what I said. That when I played, I'm like, oh, this is Nikki's game for sure. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's weird how that was the one game, because you look at Abacus and they have this very simple card game for ages 6 and up. And that was it.
Pearl, yeah.
Yeah, Pearls. And Cosmos has the new Adventure Game series. That's something completely different.
If you mention Adventure Time, we might have a couple 100,000 views of this episode pretty quickly, though.
That's right. We just have to have a screenshot with the characters on there. By Matthew Dunson and Brett Gilbert.
No, not Brett Gilbert, not Brett Phil Walker Harding.
Phil Walker Harding. Wrong combo. But it's not out till May. And of course, it's ages 12 and up, and it's just not aimed at that family line. And we're just like, where are these games?
I know, it's really weird. So I wonder if anybody's going to be rushing games to production to get them out in time. But of course, they'll just look back at the year, the stuff that wasn't in consideration for last year necessarily, right? And they'll find some games. But it is not a lot of games that were new that were there for sure.
So you you did 100 videos.
Yep.
Yes.
But most of those games are not coming out? They were not available? Or what was...
They are not primarily from German publishers. We interviewed a lot of French publishers, and there's Korean and Japanese, and some from the US and Greece, and just all over the place. But there's very little from German publishers in the right player count released by the end of March.
Well, they don't have to necessarily be from German publishers, right? Are you just saying...
But they have to be available in Germany.
Yeah.
You're talking about for the Spiel des Jahres nominations.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it just seemed really...
So it seemed a little dry. Well, maybe they're just relying on things that came out at Essen.
It's potential. I mean, there's certainly games that came out that could be considered, but it was just shocking there was so little. Like Hans im Glück did not have one. The one that we played, Eric and I, Moritz insisted that we play the game all the way through before we do the overview video, which was fantastic because it was our first play of any game at the at Nuremberg. It was Hadara by Benjamin Schwer, and it is it's basically a civilization game, very, very minor civilization game where you're over 3 epochs. You are increasing your influence in military, in income, and culture, and agriculture. Is there one more? There's got to be.
Just culture and food.
Okay. And it's really neat because, you're getting cards that will then let you have discounts on further cards. And it's very, very fast. You pick 2 cards. There's 2 cards for every player in each one of those types of areas of influence. And you take 2. You have a wheel in the center that you select what you start with, and then everybody else picks whoever has their icon on there. They'll pick whatever from that area. So everybody's picking from each one, and some, like Eric would potentially get something in a great spot that I couldn't get because I really want to do this first. It was interesting because we didn't have much culture. Neither Eric or I had many culture cards. Maybe they were just expensive, but we were cultureless. But you look at the 2 cards, you choose the one. If you can afford it, you either can pay for it or turn it in for the value, which is, like 1 to 3, I believe, for each card. And then you put the other one in another pile on the outside of that ring. And then once you've each done that for each of the stacks, then you start over. The start player then picks one of those stacks and takes one of the top cards. And they either pay for it or they cash it in for money. But you determine whether you have enough money, food for your however many cards you have, and you gain income several times, 2 times per round. So it was really neat and slick and plays very quickly. I think we are done with 2 of us with rules explanation in about 45 minutes.
It's another one I know I like.
It's beautiful too.
It's a 2 to 5 player game, and it scales because, yes, you're drafting from piles with 2 times the number of player and cards. So, of course, our 2-player game is very quick, but 5 players could take longer, although you're doing things simultaneously. Yeah. So not necessarily. As you're drafting, it's just I look and Lincoln's looking.
Yeah, we each take the 2 from the pile simultaneously because that wheel determines it. You all take from. There's no choosing. You just pick from that pile, then choose between the 2, and you're done. So it seems like it wouldn't be tremendously longer with 4 or 5 players because even with the drafting of the card, the second round B, phase B, it's first start player, then the second. So those will be individual. You can't like jump ahead because you can only choose from a pile that somebody else isn't choosing. You got to give the other person a shot first. In other words,
who was the designer on that one again?
Benjamin Schwer. I don't know if I've seen any other games from him. Have you, Eric?
Benjamin Schwer designed Crown of Amara, which Pegasus released at the end of 2018. He also did Yeti, which is funny. It's like a very light game, far from Crown of Amara and sort of...
Yeti, that's the one from Pegasus and AEG?
Yes, AEG did it in the US.
I really liked Crown of Amara.
Crown of Amara came out. It was a fairly good response. I don't think it's been out at all in the US market yet. So, been quiet here. But good response in Germany. Now, Hadara is like this streamlined civilization game, fairly abstracted. If you have enough military, then great. You can go conquer something. And you can either pillage them for money or do something and get points and increase some of your stats. If you got enough culture, boom, I get a statue on something that can increase stats or give me straight up points. So very abstracted in terms of your...
Does the military attack each other? Are you fighting each other, or are you fighting a generic enemy?
It just gives you a level. You have to match a level to be able to take a colony. Is that what it is, Eric? Was that what those cards were? So basically, if you have a certain power, you can capture one of the cards that gives you. You determine if you want to pay to flip it over, and it's you don't know what it is on the other side. So you're hoping it'll bump up stats in money or all kinds of different things, and you just don't know what you're going to get till you flip it over. But you have to pay a minimum amount, which is not expensive, to flip it over and then gain that benefit. But it's the same with he was saying with the statues, the cultural things. If you have a certain level of cultural influence, you can take statues. You don't lose anything in your influence, but you just have to have that level of influence to take one of those tiles.
So it's a threshold.
Yes, exactly. It's pretty neat, Steph. You're going to like it. The colors are beautiful, of course.
I saw everybody playing it at the gathering.
Yeah,
year.
it's pretty neato, and it's pretty slick too.
Hans and Glück, they put out a lot of great games, so I don't think I've been let down by any of their titles. So
Cool. So we filmed an overview of that. That'll be in the Board Game Geek Express channel. Did you get a copy of that by chance? Or
No, there was
something...
They don't have any yet.
Yeah, they were all prototypes. They had 2 prototypes out. So, but it's coming soon. I mean, we kind of were not allowed to speak till today, and then so there's an overview of the rules coming out at this point in time, and then there's I guess something at the beginning of March coming out, and then the game's not too far after that, obviously for SDJ consideration. So it's probably a Kenner, even though it's pretty quick. It's definitely a little bit, probably too much for some folks.
Cool. I hope to play it at BG Spring.
You will.
One way or another, we'll play it, right? It'll either be out or I'll be nominated. So one of the two, we'll get a copy or a few.
Yeah, I hope so.
What else exciting at Nuremberg?
We saw a bunch of amazing stuff at the Asmodee evening, which we can't really talk about. Most everything was way ahead of release, but really cool stuff on the boards from what was the name of Force Prezan's design studio?
Oh, Mixlore.
Mixlore, yeah. They actually had They had 5 games to show us in 7 minutes, so we didn't quite get. Jessica was telling us that we would love this one game, Skulk, and it is amazing looking.
Oh, that's the Golden Skull game.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Hey, rose gold.
It's really neat looking, but I have no idea what the game is. It was such a quick overview. Everything was like boom, boom, boom. Although the other game that I can't mention it because that one they didn't mention, but Skulk has got pictures. The other one is a Nicky game if I've ever seen it, but I can't talk about it. I don't know. Not yet.
Embargo.
We've talked about some things. I posted about Space Cowboys, gave its overview, and then we talked with them separately outside this preview event. So I've written up their plans for the new Time Stories timeline, where they're finishing the white cycle and they're going on to the blue cycle of Time Stories, where it will be 9 scenarios. You can play them in any order. You don't need a base game anymore. You can just buy one scenario and be able to play that. So on its own. If you've avoided the game before, you don't need the base scenario now with the base game with a scenario that you might have already played, which is kind of useless. So this is how they've rejiggered it.
That's good.
You can play them all independently in any order, and then there's going to be sort of an expansion that works with all of them together, where you can finish a scenario and then you go to play the experience expansion, which kind of builds on those individual scenarios and then sort of links everything together. So it's still one giant storyline, but jumbled in whatever order you play it in.
Interlinked.
So there's some meta underneath that you have to see, and then okay.
Sounds like a J. Abrams TV show or something.
J.J. Abrams, yeah.
It's just like all the different storylines coming together.
Yeah, it's lost. A little lost.
Hopefully.
Are those 9 games coming out at once, or is that spread over?
No.
It's just the next cycle is 9 games.
It's the next 9. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Did they do 9 of the white box games?
Yes, the white cycle is also 9, with Madam being the 9th one coming out early 2019.
Okay. Gosh, I don't feel like it's been 9. Has it been 9? I guess so. Maybe. I've played most of them, so I'm like trying to count them. So, Steph, what have you been playing lately?
Oh, man. So Blackout Hong Kong just showed up, and that's exciting. So I've been playing this one. So this came out at SM, but it just got available in the United States, which is excellent, so everybody else can enjoy it. It's from Spiel and Alexander Pfister, whom, I love all of his stuff, right? So he always has like really interesting card mechanics, and this is a good example of an interesting card mechanic where so I don't know if anybody has played this one yet.
Scott has.
Oh, excellent.
I have played it.
So you kind of, I don't know if you played his other games, but you can kind of see similarities between card play a little bit with like Mombasa.
Yeah.
Yeah, your cards are getting locked into place. But what's really great is, so I have an example of a player board, and it's so handy because you don't have to keep referring to the rule book over and over for what's happening next, because it tells you every step you're going to do every turn, which is really nice. Okay, you can plan to get your objective here, to get your cards here, and then you're just simply always thinking about what you're going to do and how many cards you're going to have next time and how can you get everything completed. And the game is variable because you don't know if everybody's buying all the cards. The card deck is basically how long the game's going to last. So as soon as you get through the deck, the game will be over. So if everybody's buying up cards like that, then the game could be shorter. But I have also found that 3 players is probably the best count.
Yeah, it's a longer game. Yeah.
It's definitely a longer game. But it still works really well for me because I'm constantly thinking about what I'm doing. So I'm never like disengaged with what's happening. So it's definitely going to hit the table a lot more this month that I just got it. How about you, Scott? What have you been playing?
I played also another eggertspiele game, which is Coimbra. Finally played Coimbra.
Oh my
But
gosh,
I think
yay.
have we talked about Coimbra on the show? I think we have. It came out at Origins last year. I feel someone, probably you, Steph, had talked about it.
I love this game.
In short, it's a dice or worker placement card drafting game, and every other card gives you a power, which is really cool. It's an awesome game. If you haven't played it, you should check Coimbra out. But the thing that really intrigued me, although Coimbra was very intriguing, was this escape box game that I got from Kickstarter called Apocalypse. And it's probably the most adult-themed escape room. Well, it's not really an escape room. It's an escape experience, right? It's more of a puzzle hunt type thing, where one puzzle leads to the next, and you're kind of going through. And there's actual physical locked boxes in this game. It's kind of a high price tag. I think like in the $65 range if you want to check it out. By Argyx Games. And it's the most mature theme I've ever experienced. It's a serial killer, and it's taken like super seriously. So it's not like jokey at all.
I thought it's going to be like paying taxes.
No, yes, but that would be horrific.
It's the adulting escape box game.
So it's a serial killer game. It's not for kids. There's definitely some risque stuff in there. So if you're interested in escape room stuff, it's got quite a lot of physical objects in the game. It's got like newspaper clippings, pictures, maps. The Book of Revelations is included in the game. I don't think I've ever read more from the Book of Revelations than when I was a kid. So yeah, it was exciting. And yeah, it's a neat game. It's a little Eurocentric. In fact, it's a little more, it's like French centric. So there's a couple things in there that if you're not, I mean, you can figure it out, but if you're not European, it might not come second nature to you. So there's that. But overall, we really liked it. It's a little like non-linear. Like we were trying to solve the final puzzle way longer before than we could have. So we kind of spent a lot of time on that, which was a mistake. So there's not much guidance. It's definitely for more experienced escape puzzlers. But yeah, it's cool. Check it out. Apocalypse. I think you can buy it on their website. It was a Kickstarter, now it's available. Yeah, it's really cool. We had a good time with it.
That sounds really good. I'll definitely have to look at that one.
And Lincoln, what have you been playing?
Well, the other game that I would say that I played two. I already said the Hadara, but I played 2 Mau games at at Nuremberg. Eric and I did as well. One of them is Llama from Reiner Knizia, and the other was, what's the other name, Eric?
Heul.
Yeah, from Leo Colovini. And they're both really great. They are very different from each other, and they're very quick. But for me, the Leo Colovini one had more interesting interaction because if you everybody plays the card that if it's the color or the number that somebody already has visible, you have to play on their pile. And so you're making decisions like where you're going to dump things. If you can't play it, you can place an onion. You can flip a card over, and then you have an onion to start over wherever you want. But the problem is, for every onion you have, you count them up, and you take away you take out those cards when you're tallying your total. So let's say you have 10 of these onion cards, which I think I did one time. You have to remove all 7s and 3s. So 7s are terrible to remove because they're the highest card in the suits. And so it's 3 to 7, I guess. There we go, probably. And
it could be a strategy, though, if you had to get rid of all your 7s and you had none.
Yeah, I don't know. You don't want to. You want those sevens, but it is fantastic. And Llama's great too. It's got another interesting element where there's the Llama card, which is the next number after 6. 6 is the highest number. So then once you played the Llama, you can play 1. You can start over the sequence. But any Llamas you have in your hand are 10 points each. And the one thing that Sabine forgot to mention in the overview video for that was she started to say it and forgot, so I cut that out. But I will clarify it now. If you go out first, you get to dump a token, and it can be either there's 1s and 10s, and it's any token. So you can dump a 10 token and reduce your total. So obviously the lowest score is the winner. Because you're gaining them as you fail, because it's what's left in your hand. You total it all up and you get that many tokens. Fortunately, if you have multiple of the same card, it only counts as one of them, and if you have multiple llamas, it's only one of them is 10. But it's pretty awesome.
So is that the cross career to 2019? Remember how we were kind of obsessed with that?
Is the Mau Mau thing? Well, both of them are good. They're both really interesting games.
Is it the same publisher?
No, one is Ravensburger and one is Cosmos. The Leo Colovini one is Ravensburger and the Llama one is Amigo.
All right, so moving on to news and some new releases. Eric, why don't you kick us off with the news about Alea?
Yes, so tying in with our trip to Nuremberg, at the Spielwarenmesse, Alea announced that it was kind of restarting its line, and it's going to restart with 2 titles in 2019. One of them is Las Vegas Royale, which is a new version of Rudiger Dorn's Las Vegas that has come out before. It had a Boulevard expansion, and Las Vegas Royale kind of combines elements of Boulevard with the Las Vegas base game. So it's a game where you're trying to get the most money, very much a push your luck game, where you're trying to get majorities in casinos and rake in money. And then there's all these expansion tiles that you can attach to the outside of the casinos. They've kind of rejiggered all the graphics for everything. So you can just play the base game, try to get money, or you add these special action tiles on the outside of the casinos. And there's a whole bunch of those, and you just kind of randomize them for special effects. The second title they're redoing is a new version of Steffenfeld's The Castles of Burgundy, which is going to include all 10 expansions that have come out to date, as well as a new expansion, which is a lot of stuff in one Alea big box. Like, apparently, it's just that, all shoved in with no other, there's no insert. It's just all stuff. Although, of course, the box we saw was just empty. So that is coming out. That is debuting at Gen Con. And if all plans go according to, what they expect to do. And people have been super excited about it because officially all the expansions have not been released in Germany. They're not acknowledged. It's kind of interesting. They've only been special promo items for conventions or available through the BGG store, which apparently is non-existent in Germany. I'm not sure how that works, but they were just like, these expansions don't exist, but now they will. So it's a huge undertaking where these games are going to be launched as titles 1 and 2 in the Alea Big Box line, which is being restarted in honor of their 20th anniversary. And then other games will follow, and they decline to mention anything about what might be returning or coming back, other than to say at an earlier time that Carpe Diem in its next printing would have its graphics problems fixed. So perhaps it will jump in at number 3 or something on that list.
Well, that sounds amazing. I can't wait.
Now, there's been a lot of misinformation out there. It is not a deluxe version. Is that correct?
It is not a deluxe version. No. The
artwork is the same or different?
No.
No.
The graphic, they didn't show anything from Castles of Burgundy other than the box, which is not at all like the old version.
It's very different.
They're going much more with an iconic look, where it's just symbols. So there are these keys on the box where the points of the keys are actually the castles of Burgundy. So it's kind of combining these two icons together. Las Vegas Royale has this similar symbolic cover instead of anything like the original, where it had that guy throwing the dice, that was what you saw in the box. they showed some of Las Vegas Royale, and it was not finished, but it's not what they've done before.
Yeah, it was. I know that these are not final. There's going to be more development of the art, but it wasn't. For me, it was a little bit underwhelming. I'm sure once it's done, it'll probably look pretty nice. But right now, it's pretty boring.
Harsh.
It's true though.
Well, people are super excited about it, so I guess.
Well, no, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, Castle Burgundy is like it's hugely ranked on BGG. I think it's in the top 10, right?
It's still in the top 10. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's like you can get it for $18. So ubiquitous, right? So I guess people want everything in one box with plus a new expansion. So that's exciting. Although one thing I think that was controversial, at least in the forums, was the restarting of the renumbering of all the boxes. So they're starting back over at 1 with Las Vegas Royale.
We interviewed Andre Mack about that, and he said, well, we could have continued and had Las Vegas Royale be number 19, but it doesn't match any of the previous 18 games. And it doesn't really make sense to restart that or redo the graphics, but continue the numbering. And so, yes, they can restart, and maybe some people will be like, you're dead to me. I don't want this anymore, but whatever. It won't matter in the long run.
Any other news, Eric?
So, USAopoly has signed a deal with Games Workshop for licensed versions of Talisman. And the USAopoly had a booth at Nuremberg, but we could not take photographs there. They had a big sign, no photos allowed. They'll be at New York Toy Fair, but there will always be a no photos allowed. And so
cool stuff there too.
Word of what those licenses will be, we'll have to wait for another time. And you can speculate all you want. USAopoly does a lot of licensed games with Harry Potter and Marvel and Adventure Time and what else? Rick and Morty, Disney.
There's so many possibilities actually. Like the Harry Potter Talisman game.
Yeah, Nintendo.
Could be pretty amazing.
Lots of stuff in the Nintendo line. So, yeah, there's all sorts of possibilities for what it can be. And redoing Talisman.
Yeah, I'm excited. Now, I don't know if they're going to be doing the Relic version of Talisman, which was the superior version lately that came out from
the 40K one?
Flight.
Yeah.
It was a 40K. It's set in the 40K universe, which it fixed a lot of stuff with Talisman and was like kind of more interesting. But I guess time will tell with that one.
Other big news, Fantasy Flight Games has announced a new standalone game in the Star Wars universe called Outer Rim, which seems to involve some trading and nefarious doings.
Smuggling, Eric. You smuggle in the Outer Rim.
Sure. You do that. I don't smuggle. I am a law-abiding person.
So it's interesting. Like I was trying to think of a Star Wars board game that was really interesting to me, and I can't really think of any. Like, I mean, I like the... drawing a blank on the name. Let me look.
Armada?
No.
Imperial Assault. Imperial Assault.
Yeah, Imperial Assault was really interesting, but we were kind of getting a little... It didn't really click with the group, but this one could... It's like a 2 to 3 hour kind of open world game. I guess you can kind of either decide to be a smuggler or be like a bounty hunter, or you pick up jobs and gain fame or notoriety. So I guess you can attack people. And people said it was more like Merchants and Marauders than the... other kind of pick up and deliver games like Merchants of Venus.
That's
and
right.
Firefly, things like that. So it's interesting. It's really interesting to me because I can't think of another Star Wars board game that I really like to play. So
and it seemed like a neat thing too, where they have different factions out in the Outer Rim, and of course you have to do deals with them to make money. But as you do deals with one, then the other people will hate you because you're working with their natural enemies. So. Just curious, like those little details.
And that's coming out at Gen Con, maybe?
Second quarter 2019. That's all they said.
That could be Origins. But Fantasy Flight doesn't attend Origins, as I recall.
No, they don't. So that'd be just a general release. Move on to Kickstarter news. And Suburbia from Bezier Games has a collector's edition that is ending just about as we are filming this. It's up around $1.5 million that it has in backing, with about 10,000 people backing it, which
That's epic.
Seems like a crazy number.
That's
just
awesome.
for this $100 giant collector's edition with all things Suburbia, all the expansion and some new stuff, and an interesting twist where you can choose the player colors that are included.
Right, and every player comes with its unique city.
Yeah.
Or sorry, unique city feature, right? Like
Yes.
a building.
They'll have a token, and then they have player cards, mats for each city, and you can have custom color for, as Eric's saying, you get to choose 5 if you just back it at the basic level, and then if you go all in, you can get all of them. And then there's specific tiles for monuments or buildings or whatever for each city that they have that they're adding into the game from all the stretch goals. I mean, I think that they've blown past all the stretch goals now, so it's pretty amazing.
That is excellent. I mean, I love the game personally, so I'm excited that they're totally revamping it and making it pretty.
Yeah, it needed a little bit of a help. We talked about this before in a previous episode that it wasn't just the art was just fine, but it didn't stick out any. And now there's dramatic lighting and stuff on all the tiles. It looks great, especially with the night. What is it? Night club. It's not night. I don't know what the heck it is, but they look really nice. And there's a lot of crazy additions with the tile tower, and then a night illuminated tower for playing your night games or whatever. I don't know. It's crazy.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also on Kickstarter right now is a game called Wavelength, co-designed by Wolfgang Warsch. Woo!
Yeah.
Which we saw a number of games from him at Spielwarenmesse. Also the designers from Monikers. And it's a party game in which you are trying to, they say they're transmitting information. It's not a psychic connection though. It's just you giving clues. So you, as the clue giver, are given some sort of card. Everyone knows what that card is. So it'll say like sweet to sour. Okay. So that's a scale that you're going to go on. And you got this device that you spin in secret, and then you open it up and you find out that the meter is pointing right here. And so I want to give a clue to my teammates along the sweet to sour scale that they're going to guess right here. So what clue am I going to give them that's this? So I look at where that meter is. I close it all up so they don't see it. I give them some clue. Liam Neeson. That's my clue. And then, my teammates will debate and they'll move a little pointer and determine where they want to put it on the scale. And then the other team says whether the team's answer was too high, too low, or just right. And then you reveal and you see whether you get it or not. So it's fun trying to make up clues that are, going to be interesting for your teammates to hopefully guess things. And they have all sorts of range of categories from one end to the other. So played it at PAX Unplugged, and it was pretty neat. Just creative aspects of it.
Cool.
It's got a fantastic cover.
Oh, the artwork is unbelievably good. Really, really great.
Eye-catching. That's what you need. Eye-catching on there. And that's another thing we talked about a little bit at Nuremberg, was just trying to see what was different on there and what is going to get shared and seen and promoted just by people who are looking at it. I don't know. It was an interesting challenge that came to mind looking at that.
So I have one last Kickstarter tidbit that I should have mentioned at the top of the episode because it's sort of BGG news, but it's also Kickstarter. The documentary that I've been working on for 3 years with Eric Rail, the director, is finally on Kickstarter, called The Game Designers. And it's a movie, feature length, about 5 game designers and the processes that they go through to make games. Also, 75 other game designers have been interviewed, and there's a whole lot of unlockable footage. If you go check that out, we would like to ask for $30,000, and I think we're right around 20 something right now, so we need a little bit of help to get past that completion goal.
Yeah, funding goal,
yes, that thing. But there's a lot of unlockable things. We still have a lot of time left with this Kickstarter, so go check that out. Search for The Game Designers, not in the board game category, it's in the movies category, and we appreciate any support. And I found the movie to be fascinating, so I hope you do too. It's a lot of interesting stories from lots of different game designers, not just the 5 in the base movie, but there's a lot of other interesting people in the game design community. And then there's kind of this interesting convention circuit that Eric went on. He's been doing this for 3 years, all self-funded, and traveling all over the world, following these people around, getting their stories. So hopefully you find that interesting. Check it out. There's a couple different tiers. There's digital and there's DVD or Blu-ray levels. And there's a couple associate producers on there if you want to be one of those.
Cool. Well, I backed it already. I didn't back it at the associate producer level, but I did back it already.
Yeah. Well, there's a new tier that actually got added like a few days in called the digital tier, which is actually the one I kind of wanted. And I'm not sure why we didn't have it in there from the get-go. But you get all of the base movie plus all the extra interviews. And so that'll be...
Not on disc, in other
he's
words.
got... I think he said he had 80 hours of extra footage.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Wow,
Yeah, really
that's a
crazy.
lot of footage.
Yeah. I mean, like, he has like 45 to 1 hour long interviews with almost everybody he interviewed. So I'm sure there's lots of interesting talks in there from game designers and gamers too, like a couple different people like in the industry. So I know Eric is on there as well. So that wraps up another episode of the Board Game Geek Show. Thank you to my lovely co-hosts for joining me again. W. Eric Martin, Steph Hodge, and Lincoln Amherst.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.
See you from Con.
See you next time.
Have a great day.